Got it. Thank you. So welcome everybody. Welcome all the new coaches and leaders that are joining us today. A couple that don't belong to our usual coaching community. So that's great to see. Just heads up that all sessions are recorded and they will be posted in LinkedIn group later. And also will be shared over email. If you're not on the email list, fill out the form top of the Coaches United LinkedIn group and you'll be automatically added in. And then reply to me if you want to be taken off. Very simple. It's about 100 coaches on that list right now. You will start noticing that this group includes coaches and leaders from other companies in the coaching industry. That's kind of like my vision. Today, I noticed we have coaches from health and wellness. I think we have someone listening as a positive intelligent coaches. And hopefully we get more as we introduce more talks. Anyway, let me introduce this initiative for those who joined for the first time. Initially born as a need to hold safe space for hundreds of health and wellness coaches being laid off from a major weight loss digital health company. Coaches United's current mission reflects the current needs of coaches and coach leaders everywhere, which is creating a common ground space for all coaching professionals across disciplines and across companies to connect, exchange knowledge, grow and develop, and foster mental and physical well-being practices. It's a great mission. So thank you for being here and helping me make that vision true. Today's presentation is going to be about core energy coaching. And I'm excited to introduce you to the speaker, to our speaker, Stacey Yardley. A quick bio in my own words. Stacey Yardley has a unique story that starts with her running away to join a circus when she was just a teenager. More recently, she is certified as a coach with ICF, and she's now an empowerment coach and transformational catalyst for entrepreneurs, change makers, and visionaries who want to experience more joy, fulfillment, and success in both life and work. I hope that was a fair bio, Stacey. Let's welcome her and let me give you the floor. Excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, So just want to start off with just saying thank you to you, Mauro, for reaching out, for setting this up, and to all of you that are here, because time is our most valuable commodity, and you could be spending it anywhere right now, doing whatever you feel is best for you. And so I'm grateful that you're here, and my intention is to give you some information here for you to apply immediately to be able to accomplish more in your life right now and in your work, and from a different perspective. So this today's going to be about. Again, my name is Stacey Yardley, and I do have a slide deck, so I'm going to throw that up here, and we're just going to jump right in. And what I want to do is I'll let you know that I won't be able to see the chat necessarily. It may pop up, but I'm going to try to blow through this as fast as possible. It is a deep dive, but shallow as well. Like, I'm just going to kind of go over stuff. If you have questions at the end, we will definitely open things up, open the floor up, depending on time. I will be here for a full hour or longer. If you guys want to go another hour into hour and 15, I will stay on for anybody who wants to chat or have, any conversations around this. And just excited to be here, just thrilled to be here, and trust that you will get something out of this for sure. So again, thank you for being here. Okay, let me jump in here and share my screen and we will get rocking. Okay, hold on. Got to get to the right screen here. Okay, so this is energy leadership. This is the 7 levels of energy and leading your life with these 7 levels. Let me, hold on, I'm kind of like challenged here on my screen. Give me just a second here. All right, I'll just roll with it. I can't see some of it because of the screen setup. Anyway, here I am. This is me, Stacey Yardley. As Mauro said, I am a certified professional coach. I trained with IPEC, which is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. It's a mouthful, which is why we say IPEC. And that was in 2016. And so I've been working with this content for quite a while. And as he mentioned, I'm a former circus showgirl. So my life started off crazy wild back when I was 19 or 18, joined the circus. And I'm also a breast cancer thriver. You'll notice I don't use the word survivor as much as I use the word thriver. And you're going to understand more of that as we go through this presentation. This was just a recent diagnosis back in December, and I'm doing great, thriving, like I said, and confident, all is well. I also love, one of my favorite tools to jump out of an energy slump is to just get on TikTok and watch some puppy and dog videos, because they're just hysterical. And my daughter and I go back and forth. I am a mom of a new empty nester. My daughter is 19 and thriving as well. So let me just start off this talk about, I understand that I am here with a plentiful group of powerful coaches, your health coaches, your wellness coaches, more than likely, you may be other types of coaches, but I'm preaching to the choir, and I fully acknowledge that and understand that. And because of that, this is the thing, when we're in spaces like this and we're learning and we're growing and we're in this personal development work, it can get very repetitive and the information can feel very common to us and very much like, yeah, I've heard this. Yeah, I've heard this, right? And so we tend to shut down at that point and just glaze over it and not really hear what's being said and try to receive it with new eyes or new ears. And so I want to encourage you today to try to set aside your own bias or perception of how you understand things and just come at this from a different angle, or be open to engaging with this content from a new perspective. So this, again, is an introduction to energy leadership. And what is this about? This is really about how you're living your life, how you're working, how you're moving through your life in all areas. We are all leaders. Leadership is not a title within an organization. Yes, that is how most of the time it's perceived, but we all are leading our own lives. Your ability to thrive and to succeed dictates by your own leadership, how you are leading yourself, okay? And so my question to you as we go into this is to ask, how are you spending most of your time internally? What's going on between your two ears, right? And how are you feeling about it? Are you the gal on the left or the guy on the right here? The 2022 stress statistics, I just pulled these the other day, absolutely mind-boggling. You know, here we are after 2 years of the declared pandemic. The American Psychological Society has said that we are at an all-time high of stress. Many of us are in the thick of it, right? And Americans are among the most stressed out in the world. We're 20% higher than the global average. 55% Americans are stressed during the day. Stress causes 57% of respondents to feel paralyzed. And I want you to note that, to feel paralyzed. How many of you are feeling paralyzed? A lot right now, especially if you found yourself in a situation where you're unemployed and you're like, whoa, the market is not what I thought it was. This is difficult. I feel so stuck where I'm at and I don't know what to do. I'm going to help you with that today. 63% of American workers are ready to quit their job just to avoid the work-related stress. How many have felt this? 63%, that's pretty high, y'all, that's pretty high. Chronic stress is a commonplace. 94% of workers are feeling reported stress at work. 94%. That's, I mean, really 6% off everybody, right? So it's a lot. A lot of people are really stressed out. A lot of causes of the stress, right? Living conditions, political climate, financial insecurity, all these become stressors. Ineffective communication. This is a big one, right? And it increases the work stress to the point of frustration that workers quit. And they're offered a, hey, you want to leave? Here's a package. I'm out. I'm pissed off. I'm fed up. I'm out, right? And this has happened to a lot of people. And what I want to do again is wherever you find yourself today, I want to give you hope that there is possibility here and there's opportunity here. You just have to shift your perspective. And I'm going to help you do that today. So what happens as a result of all this stress, right? People are just out of control. Our country is really spiraling at the moment, right? We got 1 in 4 Americans saying discrimination is a source of stress. 7 in 10 adults report stress affects their personal relationships. So things are bleeding over, right? from your work into your personal life, all the things. And the impact is absolutely devastating. It's chronic disease, substance abuse, and mental health issues, right? The pandemic saw people pulling out the alcohol stores up here in the Northwest, the marijuana stores, everything stayed open. People were just drinking more, smoking more, eating more, right? Just trying to numb out, doing all that they could to get rid of the stress. And 8 out of 10 Americans are suffering from alcoholism, right? We're in a state of disease. And a lot of it is due to the stress that we're experiencing. And so that is my mission today, is to help you, again, shift through this stress. And how do you get out of it? What does this cause? This causes what I term as living in the fast lane, okay? Causes frustration, anxiety, stress, and tired. How many of y'all are feeling at least one, if not all of these on a daily basis, right? You might not be frustrated, but then you get anxious because you start thinking about, oh my God, and all the information coming at you on all fronts. And it just gets your mind racing and you're thinking about everything that could go wrong, causes more anxiety, more stress. You can't sleep, then you're tired. It's just this snowball effect, right? It's the fast lane. So check with yourself here. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? How are you feeling in the sense of, I'm really 10 is like, I am maxed out, stressed out, to the 9 and then, or to the 10, right? Or 1, like, no, I'm good. Like, whatever, life is life and I'm just flowing through it, right? Imagine now, if you would, what was like life when you weren't in the fast lane. So I want you to take a deep breath, because I just threw some major stats at you and you probably just felt this tidal wave of like, oh my God, this is bad. This is looking really bad. So take a deep breath, inhale, belly out, and exhale, and think of a time when you were in the flow, when everything felt really well. Everything felt like it was going your way. You were just thriving. What about that felt good to you? And what would it be like to imagine the scenario right now that's causing you the most stress and anxiety and frustration? What would it be like to feel that into that situation? Right? To feel that peace, that joy, that excitement, right? That feeling of everything is working out for me. Everything is right where it's supposed to be. And I feel really good about this situation. That's where we're going to go. Okay. So how do we get there? This is the big one right here. So this is about perception, how we perceive our world. We look at the world through 7 different energetic lenses. Okay, our perspective will dictate how we think and how we feel about situations. How you look at it either creates the stress or it doesn't. Okay, this goes into a little bit of positive thinking, but again, it's even more than that. And what I mean by that is it starts with your beliefs. We all come into this world as a clean slate, right? We don't have anything happening within our brains. And then we go through life, we move through our family situations, we move through our circumstances, and things that we experience affect us, right? It shapes us, it influences us. So things that you are experiencing now, triggers or those kind of things, could very well be underlying subconscious beliefs, right? Your subconscious beliefs are 95% of how you're operating right now. And so you see something, you perceive it through that lens, and everything you see comes at you through that particular lens. We're going to go over the lenses here. But what I want you to understand is that your beliefs and your values, okay, can equate to judgment. You are lining up, you're either lining up or not lining up with your beliefs and values. So if something that you're seeing or perceiving is in alignment with your beliefs and in alignment with your values, you're like, it's good. But if it doesn't line up and you don't agree with it, you judge it as bad. And then that's going to then create a cascade effect of stress. Okay. And I want to keep in mind the stress level, what happens with that. And we're going to get into that. So what does this mean? So it means that you're on autopilot. Like I said, your beliefs control your thoughts, which then control your emotions, which then dictate your actions. And again, this is information you may have heard before, but I really want you to sit in with this. So if you're, again, believing that let's say you heard growing up, money doesn't grow on trees. Don't burn a hole in your pocket, right? Money is not available. That money comes, it's hard to get, right? And you believe this, or a job is hard to get. We're in a crisis, we're in a recession, like it's hard. I believe it's really hard to get a job, find a job right now. That's going to create thoughts as you go into a job search, as you go into experiences, in an interview or whatever, right? There's 20 other people vying for this. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. I don't know if I can do that. You know, all these thoughts that come up, which then create emotions, which drive your behavior. We move from emotion as human beings. It's just part of who we are, right? And so again, it's either on autopilot or by choice. Okay, so this is where energy plays in. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of what you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. Now, some of you might be going, oh God, here we go with the law of attraction BS. Like, here we go. Like, I've heard this before, The Secret, blah, blah, blah. That's part of it. Okay, but this is laws of the universe. This is laws of energy. Everything is energy. Frequency matters. Matter is matter, and frequency is a whole nother thing, right? And our universe operates on energetic law. It's fact, it's law. It's not theory, it's law. Gravity is a law, right? Energy is a law. So however you are showing up, so when you hear the phrase, how are you showing up? How are you energetically presenting? Energy doesn't lie, am I right? You can step into a room and you can feel the energy without even knowing what it is. And most coaches are in the are empathic, right? Highly empathic. And so you're even more sensitive to it. And you're feeling, you can walk into a room and think, oh my goodness, something's missing here. Or you get into an elevator with somebody and you can kind of feel it without even talking to them, right? Same other way goes the other way around. Somebody walks in the room and just lights up that room. That presence, it's like, whoa, there's people gravitating to that light and just like, who is this person? And I want to be around them because I just love the way they make me feel, because it's an energetic thing and we're energetic beings, right? This is how we operate. So what is energy leadership in this model? This is how we view the world through lenses. It's based on how our experiences, our values, our assumptions, they limit what we see like tunnel vision, or they expand what we see like a prism. And thus how we perceive our circumstances, right? So if you're going through a crisis situation, it's how you're perceiving that situation is how you're going to move through it, right? And I watched this play out in the company I'm currently still in. I watched this play out, and we were doing a deep dive study of this during this crisis that we were in for the last 4 or 5 months. And I really watched people shift through this information and experience the crisis in a whole different way. They told me personally, I would not have experienced this way or still be here actually if I hadn't had this information. Okay, so this is really critical information for you to understand. So the 2 types of energy, we all have these energy levels. Okay, every human being operates within these 7 levels of energy. 2 of the levels are catabolic, and 5 are anabolic. 1 is kind of a mix. So anabolic energy is a constructive, expansive, fueling energy, right? It's a building up energy, allows for things. Catabolic energy is very constricting, very draining. You know, have you ever been in a fight and an argument with somebody and then you just exhausted, or you go through a very stressful situation, then you get sick? It's because that energy is catabolic. It's tearing down your body. It's putting chemicals in there that are catabolic to your system, right? It is creating cortisol, adrenaline. These are flow of chemicals that were not meant to be at a constant state of flow. And in our society today, this is where we're at. We're in a constant state of catabolic energy, negative energy coming at us continually, stimulus coming at us continually. And our body does not have the ability to slow down, to decompress, and come out of that state of stress, right? That hypertensive hyper energetic state, right? And our cells can't function properly, like all the things. So what do these look like? This is the energetic self-perception chart. So this is the core model that IPEC uses. And you'll see there's a rights reserved here on. So I'm giving credit to them, but this is the core energy. We all have a core energy. And in the core of those two, and the self is in the core of it. We're all, as human beings, have a self. We all have an ego. A lot of times in the growth space, the ego is vilified as wrong, as bad, as get out of your ego. The thing is, we need our egos, right? We wouldn't be human without our egos. So it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing to have ego. It's how you're functioning within that ego. Are you in default or are you in there by choice? Okay, that's a totally different thing. Once you get out of the self and the ego self, you then get into self-mastery. This is where a lot of personal development people or coaches will find themselves most of the time. And we'll dive into these a little bit deeper here in a moment, but you get into the self-mastery piece. And then from there, you expand out even more into self-transcendence. Now, it's important to understand when you're in these levels, the higher the level of energy, the more accessible you have for other levels of energy, okay? Now, this is not in a relationship to chakras. A lot of people see that. They see these colors on the chart and they're like, oh, it's like your chakra system. No. Yes and no. I mean, your chakras are energetic. Yes, there's spaces within your body and all of that. That's a whole nother training. But this is more about your mental, emotional, physical way that you're moving through the world and how you're presenting and how you're showing up, right? So what do these look like? Levels 1 and 2. This is where the majority of people are. This is where people will find themselves, especially when they're in stress. It's all about the self, level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is a victim energy. This is where you're going to be at the effect. This is where life is happening to you. This is where your boss is a jerk and he's happening to you. Like, I don't like him. I don't like he's treating me. It's not fair. I'm not fair. It's not fair. You're withdrawn. You become overwhelmed, indecisive. It's just an I lose perspective, right? And the result is that you feel lethargic. You feel apathetic. You're like, I just don't care. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just the way it is. Like, I can't do anything. I'm stuck. This sucks, right? You're just kind of in that place of apathy. And remember that each thought is going to create a feeling, and then it's going to create an action. And on every energetic level, there is a benefit and a, that's what I'm looking for. It can hurt you, or it can work against you, or it can work for you. Every level, even victim, can work for you in certain situations. When someone says, hey, how you doing? You're like, oh man, I'm so stressed out. This feels so good. Oh, what's going on? And that engages the conversation, right? We collude with feeling crappy, and then we get seen, we get validated, and we feel better because we're in company with other people that are feeling the same way, right? So there is payoff to this level. It's not helpful necessarily, but there is payoff to it. Same with level 2. This is a more of a conflict energy. This is more of a bully, anger energy, right? The thing to understand about the level 2 energy is it can get you into action, right? If you're presented with something that you're really feeling like your hands are tied, you're not feeling good about it anymore, and you're like, I'm taking action. I've had it. That's it. I'm doing something about this. I'm pissed off, right? And it works for a short time, but is it sustainable? And what happens as a result? This creates micromanaging. This creates a problem-focused outlook, resistance, judgment, blaming, very black and white thinking. It is or it isn't. Whose fault is this? This is management's fault. This is leadership's fault, not my fault, right? And so this is where it becomes very much, I win, you lose, you're wrong, I'm right. And it's all about judgment, right? And again, level 2 can work. Someone can come into a company and say, this is the way we're doing it. Things are changing, straighten up or get out. And that works for a little while, but then people start to get like, I can't take this anymore, I'm out, right? And so it does become destructive. So again, remember that levels 1 and 2 are destructive, catabolic constricting, restricting energies that only leave you in a state of stress, anxiety, frustration, fatigue, all those things, because of both on a chemical level within your body, and they're perpetuating thinking. In addition, these feelings and emotions get into our bodies, right? So it can start to become very much like a cycle where the emotions are creating the thoughts, and then the feelings create more thoughts, and then it kind of starts to go into a loop. And you're like, how the heck can I get out of this? I'm just feeling like I'm spiraling, right? So levels 3, 4, and 5 is where we start to move out of this catabolic energy. And we get it more into forgiveness, compassion, and peace. And you'll notice on these charts, on the core energy chart, there's a core thought, which then creates the center emotion, which then creates the action or the inaction, right? So again, on level 1, you have like victim level 1, apathy, lethargy, you're not going anywhere. You need stuff. You have no faith anything's going to work out. You're very unconscious, very reactive in these states, very reactive. Everything is happening to you, outside of you, and affecting you. So think of it in the way of, are you being affected by your circumstances and your situation? How is it affecting you? Are you at cause, or are you at the effect? Are you choosing to be at the cause of it? When you get into level 3, that's when you begin to accept responsibility. This is where you start to say, okay, this is on me. How can I change this? No one's coming to save me. No one's driving up on a white horse or a lottery ticket, a lottery check, right? I got to make this happen. So how can I make this happen? Forgiveness, if you're holding grudges, if you're holding resentments, forgiveness is that first step. It's stepping into that. I'm releasing myself from this grudge. I'm releasing myself from this frustration, letting it go so that I can now move into. So it's acknowledging those emotions, right? It's acknowledging all of that. And then moving into, how can I make this work? Now, there is still some catabolic energy when you get in this level 3, but this is where you're getting into rationalization, a little bit of excuse making, right? You compromise, you're a little more solution focused. It's like, I win, and if you win, it's okay too. Like, that's okay. And level 4 is when you really shift into anabolic. So this is where compassion hits. This is where you start to see something from another perspective of someone else. Okay, where are they at? What's happening here? What's the situation? And this can play into self-compassion as well, right? Are you practicing self-compassion? Maybe you made a decision you're now regretting. Are you having compassion for yourself? Are you saying, okay, you were where you were in this place. I need to just love myself through this and not blame myself and stay in those lower levels, right? It's releasing that. It's like, okay, here I am. Like, what do I do next? Right? And have compassion. Like, I was just really frustrated with myself or with my situation and all of that, right? So you can start to appreciate, okay, I appreciate that I did this and I moved through this, or appreciate others, right? I appreciate that they're doing their best to figure this out, right? It's kind of more being in a fix-it mode. Level 5 is the opportunist level. This is where a lot of coaches, a lot of people that are in the growth space will see, like, okay, where's the opportunity here, right? There's a big difference between this sucks, I feel really stuck, to where's the opportunity? What's possible, right? Are you looking at things through the lens of possibility in any situation, right? If your power goes out, are you going to be like, oh, now I'm screwed. This sucks. I have no power. And I'm just going to sit here and like wither away. Or you're like, okay, how can we fix this? Where can we go? What can we do? How can we rally? Right? You go right into, where's the opportunity here? This is where, you saw a lot of people in the pandemic either took level 5 approach, or they took a level 1 and 2 approach, right? They went into the hole, and they stayed in that hole, and they dwindled down, numbed, all the things. Or they were like, okay, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to write my book, to grow my business, to increase my education, right? Right now, where are you at? Are you looking at this as an opportunity of, okay, I'm unemployed maybe, and where's the opportunity? What can I create out of this situation? Am I just going to wait for someone else to save me, or can I go and create something to happen? This is what it is. Now, where is my responsibility, level 3, to up level onto this and see some possibility? right? This is where you're going to be more motivated, more holistic approach. You're going to take a curiosity approach. This is a we both win or we don't play level of energy. Okay. I'm going through this really fast, so you're probably all at a blur right now, but stick with me. We're almost through these levels. Okay, now we're going into the levels 6 and 7. This is the self-transcendence. So again, we started in ego, in those levels 1 and 2. We move out, we expand more into self-mastery, where you become more aware, more conscious. Okay, I can choose here. Where do I want to go? How do I want to see this? When you step into level 6 and 7, this is where you're getting into more synthesis and non-judgment, joy, expression. This is where you're here for the thrill of it all. That's why I love that song I was playing earlier. You are here to just simply experience this, and you get to choose how you experience and move through this life and this planet and your job and your relationships and all of that. You are in control and you get to choose through all those levels below you. If someone's in anger, you can meet them in anger and be like, all right, you know what? I'm pissed off too. What are we going to do about it? And then you pull them up with you. Let's take responsibility. Let's do something about this, right? Or you can go into compassion, right? You know, I got diagnosed with breast cancer too. You know, I feel you. I know it's really hard right now, really hard. And this really sucks. But how can we have compassion for ourselves and not look at this as a horrible thing, but to love ourselves through this process, right? How can we move through this? So you can help people pull up in those situations. This is where these levels are where you're going to get more into visionaries, more into like people like Steve Jobs, right? Elon Musk, executives, high-level CEOs that are really seeing things from a high level and ability to see the bigger picture. They have more joy. There's intuitiveness here. This is where you're getting into more flow with yourself. You start to see like everybody can win here. Let's just figure this out and find a way for us all to win versus feeling so stuck into you win, I win, you lose, I lose kind of thing. So more synthesis here and more joy. And then level 7, this is really in the flow. This is where you are in passion. Anybody ever feel this when you're maybe in a hobby or something that you really, really love, maybe even some work, right? Where you can start and you're just in the work and you look up, it's 3 hours later, you're like, whoa, I got to get something to eat because you love what you do. You're not grinding for the sense of, proving your worth and grinding to hit a metric. You're maybe grinding in a different kind of way and that you're just in the flow. You're like, I love this. I love this. I'm just going to keep going, right? And churning through it. So it's where passion, desire, drive, like that creation part of you is like, I feel this in every part of my being, and it's actually bigger than me. This is where you're tapping into source, as I call it, those bigger energetic presence that is like, there's more here than just me. This is more about other people than it is me. That's compassion. That's those lower levels, right? I'm here to serve. I'm here to help others grow, right? These are in those higher levels of energy, and you feel better in those spaces, right? They say, if you're ever feeling crappy, go help somebody. You're going to feel a lot better if you just take your emotions and your focus off of yourself and go help somebody else. So entrepreneurs, a lot of them are in 5, 6, and 7 a lot. They're in like, how can I solve the problem for people? How can I help people? This is what Mauro's been doing, right? He's like, how can I show up and like help people, thrive through this time versus be so stuck. Okay, so how are you showing up? Again, the guy on the left in that catabolic, or the gal on the right who's more in the anabolic. So just checking in with yourselves. So how are you moving through your experiences? What is your current strategy? Are you just like, I'm just surviving, I'm just pushing through, and something happens and you find yourself in a reactive state? You start the day good and then something happens and you're like, now my day is ruined. Now, my day started off this way or whatever, right? You've got to decide, do you want to be in default or choice? And if you want to change the pattern, how do you do it? First of all, you have to stop and breathe. Breath is a doorway and an entryway into your consciousness. Okay, so you can't go from like one to the other without actually taking a moment to break the cycle of the brain body response, right? And breath helps engage the parasympathetic reaction. It helps bring out those highly toxic stress hormones, right? Reactions, and allows the body to calm in the nervous system so that you can then think. You actually are accessing a different part of your brain, right? So you've got to be able to switch to a different part of your brain and breathe into it, and then become an observer of where am I at right now? Am I in catabolic or anabolic energy? And where do I want to be, right? Because you might want to be in anabolic or catabolic energy. You might want to be pissed, but is it by choice or is it by default? That's the difference. So you notice what you're having, the thought you're having about the situation. Why are you having it? What are you perceiving to be true in that moment? And how is it making you feel? And how are you acting as a result of it? I did this presentation for my group, my team in the company I'm in about 1.5 years ago now. And I had one fellow who was on our team, he was the only male on our team at the time. And he came back to me the next day and he's like, when you started your presentation, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, here we go. What's she going to teach me? But he opened up and listened. And then he came back to me the next day and said, hey, I want you to know that this shifted my relationship last night. We got in an argument and I had to ask myself, how am I showing up here? How am I feeling? And what am I thinking and acting because of it? And how can I take responsibility and change the way I'm thinking and feeling right now? What's another way I can look at this, right? So it's having the ability, again, to step out of yourself in that ego place so that you can then raise your energy and affect others and find solutions and come into a place of better energy, right? And more better feeling. So again, it's taking responsibility. It's understanding, and it's not going to happen, this is a practice, right? This is something you work on, and understanding it's a habit you're going to create over and over and over again. It's not like a one and done thing. It's always a continual process. So as you go through just today, even as you're going through this process right now on this call, right? How did you come into it? What were you thinking, right? What are you thinking right now, right? And how are you perceiving it? And how do you want to perceive it, right? So action is preceded by thought and the feeling. So when you become an observer of the situation, you then have more objective possibility and you can see different perspectives. It's like a hologram thinking, thoughts, feelings, heart energy, all of that. Which way are you looking at it, and which way can you look at it differently, and how would that shift how you feel and how you show up? So it's recognizing where you are and making the decision there. So it's important to understand, you guys, that we're all going to have situations where we're going to react, right? We're going to go into victim thinking or pissed off or whatever. We're going to go into those situations because we're human. Again, we have an ego. We can't avoid it. So to think, oh, I'm never going to go there. I'm never going to have these negative thinking thoughts. I'm never going to have imposter syndrome. That's BS. Okay. That's a limiting belief, because you're limiting yourself thinking that you can be perfect when you're never going to be perfect. You're a human. It's how long are you going to stay there though? That's the key. Something bad happens to you that you perceive as bad, you can marinate and stick around in that, or you can shift and say like, okay, I'm taking control here. I'm not going to choose to stay here. I need to shift out of it. You don't numb the feelings. You don't push them down. You acknowledge, you witness them, you take a breath and go, all right, this is where I was. Now I'm moving on. Okay. So I wanted to mention this. I know I'm trying to keep this at time, or I told you it's tough to throw it all out there, but I wanted to mention this for you all. I'll pop the link in the chat if you're interested in having a conversation with me. But this is a tool that I use. It's called the Energy Perception, the ELI, Energy Leadership Index Assessment. And what it does is this shows you, see the chart there? We all have a stress reaction and a operating energy, a regular resonant energy. So your regular operating resonant energy can be where it's at until you hit a stressor. Once a stressor comes in, you drop down into your stress response. And this is where I said, like, it's subconscious, you don't know, right? What this assessment does is it gives me a very subjective, not objective, very subjective view, and you as well, a printout, so to speak, of where your consciousness is and how you're showing up in those stressful situations where you may not know. You may be someone who's very anabolic on a regular basis, like you see opportunity, all of that. But as soon as something hits, you tank and you go down into level 1 right away, level 2. And you can't figure out what's going on here. Why am I doing this? Oftentimes there's deeper issues, and I coach people through that. And this is how I work with my clients, but it's, helping them shift their perception of themselves, of life, of all the things, right? But this particular assessment you can take, and then I do a debrief session with you. And I just wanted to throw this out there for anybody who's interested. I'm giving you a special rate of 30% off of my pricing for this. And it's, again, the assessment, and then we meet for about, I say 60, but sometimes it turns into 90, debrief session, and we go over your results. And I give you, that personalized assessment where you can then move forward and know how you're showing up and how you want to shift it. Okay, so that's it. Let me pop back over to our Zoom here. I'll stop the share. Whew, that was a lot. I know that was a lot. We are at 10:15, 10:16. So let me just throw out some, questions, or how are you feeling? How did this set? How did you have any questions around it? Anything like that? What I want to do, if anybody's interested, I'd like to do some laser coaching. I'm willing to play if you're willing to play with me. So if anyone's in a current situation where they're feeling like a little out of control, a little stressed, and they want some help shifting around it right now, let's jump on the hot seat, and I would be happy to coach you in the moment right now. Anyone?
It's connected to the LHG music one.
Stacy, you want me to be your guinea pig?
Sure.
Since no one else is chiming in,
let's play, Kevin.
I'll reveal some of my let's call them anxieties or what have you. So I really appreciate your presentation, and don't know if it comes in a follow-up email format, but so I'm not like the rest of you. I think are mostly wellness coaches, but I do work a commission-only career in commercial real estate. And when Mauro had introduced me as well, I do some activations in the sports marketing world. I think we all, especially the last 2 years, as you referenced, have really gone through so much socio-politically, what have you, financially, job, family, and that when you mentioned the imposter syndrome part, I think a lot of us feel that, especially a commission only career. Yes. Where money comes and goes. Thankfully, this year has been my best within, my 5 years of brokerage business, but I know at any point that can get lost. Right. So looking at the horizon, and a lot of sales jobs have that pipeline. Mine is both sales and service. Mm-hmm. And it's the time that we put in, and then the balancing of the life, whether it's social or romance or family or self. Mm-hmm. And it gets overwhelming. And then I think you also mentioned the, folks' overuse of alcohol or certain drugs or CBD, what have you. And one of the benefits of the lockdown is I went from 3 to 4 nights or weekends of drinking to 1, because I wasn't out networking. There was a lack of social, so that was a good thing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm just throwing that out, reveal whatever embarrassments I've got about, I'm just going to own it. And I'm with probably a lot of these other folks that are, because my job is commission only, mm-hmm. that it's feast and famine as we feel, especially when you either lost a job or you lose that big commission. And, I really like your mindset that you pointed out into the 7 levels. That's brilliant. And it's inspiring. So take with that what you will and guide the rest of us.
Yeah. So Kevin, definitely I understand 100% where you're coming from with sales. That was my background. I have some background in sales, and it is a very stress-filled occupation in that you said this is feast or famine, right? So it's how you're perceiving that feast or famine that alone. And you're right. A lot of us went through it's almost like we're in a COVID coma, right? A lot of people are coming out of COVID and in this COVID coma of like, how do I interact? How do I do this? Is it all going to fall apart again? You know, I'll give you guys a little feedback too. I'd lost my job in 2018 in sales. They restructured a company and I'd been laid off, right? So I ended up going back into an old field of restaurant work because mom always said, you know, do something you can fall back on. Could always fall back on restaurant work. Wasn't the funnest at 48 years old, right? Back in 2018, but I did it, right? I was like, let's just do what works right now. Well, I thought it was secure, and lo and behold, 2020, I had my fitness business. I was teaching Zumba. I had my 2 jobs doing, the restaurant work that was allowing me more time, freedom to do what I wanted to do and coaching, but it all came to a crashing end, right? And so it was at that moment of like, how are we gonna move through this? And what can happen is our stress response based on our past experiences again, right? And how you're perceiving those past experiences and what they meant. When I went on to file my unemployment, my body had a visceral reaction because it remembered the trauma from 2018. And here I was in 2020 going on for unemployment again. And I sat down as soon as that webpage pulled up, my body reacted. So it's important to understand, Kevin, when you're moving through what you're moving through is tuning in. What is your body telling you, right? And your body's going to tell you what's marinating in there and how you're perceiving things. Assumptions is one of the biggest limiting beliefs that we don't understand is coming into play oftentimes, right? So, and what I mean by an assumption is you see something based on an experience you had in the past, assuming it's going to be the same, right? Assuming that, but the thing is, we're never in that same spot. We're never in that same spot. You've always had some more experience to draw from and to perceive through. So for you, right, it would be, you're in the situation where feast or famine, maybe in the past, that famine happened because you weren't taking the opportunity in those feast hours to create more income through that money, or to put money away, or to cut down expenses. You increased in expenses instead, right? So it's how are you looking at the opportunity, even when things are good? Where's the opportunity to prepare when things go bad, right? So it's, again, what is the immediate lens that you're looking through, and are you looking with a stronger vision forward? And so for you, Kevin, it would be, you know, for you is probably, I mean, let me ask you, what is causing you the greatest amount of stress right now, would you say?
I would say recently, like the weekend before, I kind of woke up on the wrong side of the bed with about 6 anxiety provoking experiences. And I think some of it was on the finance side, which has been consistent as an entrepreneur for years, really. And even though right now, like I literally just received the biggest commission check I'd ever had. So that feels good and great. But so there's a bit of that. And I'd say maybe the romance side at this stage of our lives, our society has coached us up, whether it's, you know, the Disney princess life or, you know, sitcoms with nuclear families and stuff. So I think maybe a little lacking with that. I had a breakup a year ago that wasn't ever going to become a marriage, but still at the same time, you're kind of like, that's more of who I know I've been since a child. That's a factor, a little bit of family stuff. Yeah. And I guess just the constant grind of basically my work is what we make of it is a 7-day week job that's nonstop, as a lot of my peers do. So they go out and make their 6 figures. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're always comparing ourselves, and I'm pretty good about just kind of taking myself in stride and feeling good about my accomplishments. But I think it's a lot of that. I do watch a lot of my peers that are just crushing, making 7 figures. Yeah. And so that's, even though I got my biggest commission check, it's never enough, right?
Yeah,
it's never enough. So
comparison piece, yeah. And so I'm going to take it down to the root level, Kevin, because this is, you know, we don't have a lot of time, but I want to just take it down to the root level because this is really the underlying thing for everybody. It is that self-worth, self-love piece, right? So when you stepped out of bed that day and all of those things came at you, instead of trying to push through, instead of trying to manage your mind through those stressors, It's stopping and going, okay, I need to slow down here and take a moment for myself. What do I need to do to get in a better state of being? What is my current state of being? And what do I need to do for myself to get in a better state so that I can then choose? Because you can't, when you're in those catabolic energies, you cannot see possibility, right? So is it taking a day off when everyone else says, go grind? You're like, I need to go take a day off to calm my system, to get out to the beach, to do whatever you need to do, not think about other things, then come back replenished and refreshed, right? So it's that slowing down to speed up. When you said about like relationships, right? It's that perception, you said it yourself, right? It's how we grew up, the nuclear family, like all the things, we're in this climate. What are you perceiving to be the truth of what's successful for you, right? And if you're measuring up against that, there's going to be a conflict if you're perceiving it to be opposite of that, right? Like I said earlier, your beliefs and your values are going to come up. And when something like Tinder hits you and you're like, swipe, 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 like, and it's bumping up, like, I'm never going to find the person here. This doesn't work or whatever, right? You've got to check those thoughts. You've got to be conscious enough to see how you're thinking about things. And those perceptions of subconscious beliefs come up in our thoughts. No thought should be believed until you actually check it and say, okay, is this true? Do I want it to be true? Because it might be true, but do you want it to be true? If you don't want it to be true, you can shift it. No one is holding a gun to your head and saying, you must keep this thought, right? Same with like the drinking and stuff like that, right? You're in a business, it's wine, dine, sign on the line kind of thing, right? And that's how it operates. But that doesn't mean you need to meet them in that operation space, right? You can have one gin and tonic and then call it tonic from that point on and still feel like you're you're engaged, but your mind is clear. You're in a better space to be able to be conscious, right? So just because we're in the game, it's how we're playing the game that matters and how you're perceiving that, right? So for you, I would just encourage you, like, where are you looking at something? Like you said, for one, it's the day-to-day, it's the things that hit you. How did you move through that day? Did you stop and like clear it? Or did you go, okay, I got to deal with this, and they nagged at you the rest of the day, right? Did you release it? Did you acknowledge it and say, okay, like you did on this call, right? You were like, this is who I am. I can guarantee you someone resonated with what you're feeling, if not everybody, right? Comparison is one of the most detrimental things that we can do. I just want to drive that home. If you are comparing yourself to other people, you are setting yourself up for distrust in yourself, for lack of belief in yourself, all those things. The world will tell you to compare, but it's you against you. It's really you against you in this world. And it's really about how you're checking your thoughts and then choosing from there. So if you find yourself stuck in your head, get into your body. Shift. This is what Tony Robbins does, right? He's like, change your energy, get moving, jump up and down. If you're angry, push that in, move that energy, right? Energy is in our bodies, and we got to be able to move that energy in order to shift it sometimes. If we just try to stay down in it and we try to shift from there, it's going to be very difficult because we're physical beings and that energy needs to move through us. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transmuted or shifted, right? It can only change. It can never be destroyed. So it's again, how are you consciously moving through that? And what are you believing to be true about yourself? If you had no job, no money, and you were living in a box on the corner, would you be okay? Go there. Like really go there. Ultimately, you would be okay. If you're tapped in, if you understand who you truly are at the core of who you are, right? If you understand what you're made of and who brought you here, what brought you here, what this is about. This is about experiencing this planet on the earth plane as a human being. Getting a little woo here, but that's the case, right? You are here to experience this lifetime. And how do you want to experience it? You get to choose. And so it's choosing how you want to do it, right? This is the breast cancer thing. Do I want to see myself as a survivor? Well, as a survivor, there's a fight energy. I'm fighting cancer. I'm fighting my body. What's that going to tell my subconscious mind? That's going to tell my subconscious mind, you're in fight or flight. Get into a catabolic energy because you got to save your life. That's going to tear down my cells. That's going to break down my cellular level, right? If I see myself as someone who can be still and trust and know my body can heal, my body's made to heal, I am a thriver. I don't need to worry. All is working out. We're all going to die. Maybe I get to choose how okay, maybe it's breast cancer. Maybe it's a car. I don't know. Is today a good day to die? Yeah. Is today a good day to live? Yeah. Right? It's all how I want to choose to look at it. And that's going to determine how I feel and then how I move forward. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Yes, very considerate of you to take on my specific case, and hopefully some others should. I see some nice comments in there too. And I love the thriver comment. I use that in a different format. Like I'd rather, I'm surviving, I'm going to be thriving, but I've had a friend go through different tragedy than yours, and people used to call her a victim, like the media would call her a victim. And she was very specific about, I'm a survivor. I'm not going to have to tell her, change the language to thriver.
Yes.
So even that little takeaway is huge.
Absolutely, right? It's all in how we look at it. And even now, if you're someone out there struggling to find work, right? How are you perceiving it? Because I can guarantee you, when you show up in an interview with a mindset that says so much more about how you're thinking, it's going to set you apart. It's going to set you apart. How you talk about your past, how you talk about your experience, even the last 3 months. Are you blaming or are you taking responsibility? No matter what your choices were at the time, are you taking responsibility now or are you blaming a system or a situation? And that's going to matter to the right alignment and leadership is going to see, okay, this is the person we want, right? And this is where the communication breakdowns that we see, it's our responsibility to fix communication. How are we perceiving this communication and how can we communicate as a result of that perception? So thank you for playing, Kevin. Hopefully that was helpful. And yeah, reach out if you'd like to have any more conversations. I'm always down to chit chat about more. We're coming up on 10:30 or my time, 10:30, 1:30 your time, East Coast. How's everyone feeling? Any other questions?
I think we can wrap it up. It was amazing. I know we're on the hour. Oh, Rachel, were you about to say something or ask something? You're good? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to thank
I just was like, I can put my camera on because I'm done with lunch. Like I had to
Oh.
so you can see me.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested, you can find me at stacyardley.com. That's my website. It's a little outdated, but it will work. And then this is my booking site. You can jump on there and book a connection call with me. It's free, 20 minutes, just to discuss any opportunity that you're looking to see. And, if you're interested in the energy leadership assessment. And yeah, I'm here, I'm available. I'm on LinkedIn, not very much, but I'm working on getting over there more. Facebook, Instagram, I do social media. Bigger on Facebook. And I know a lot of people like Facebook's toxic. It's all about your perception. It's all about how you're moving through it. Right?
Yeah, it's all a tool. We can use them as a tool. We can decide how these tools are going to be useful or not to us. So I thank you very much. I think is a wonderful topic. It aligns with so many other things that we talked in the past few weeks. We talked about labeling emotions. We talked about identify the part of the brain influences how you react and perceive realities. And then today we talked about energy levels. And so that's a new perspective that it can be added to the toolbox that we have as individual leaders in our own lives and can use every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would just, one last final thing, I would just remind you, because a lot of the positive intelligence does play into this energy leadership a lot, right? There's a lot of interplay in there. And what I would encourage others to do is just check if you're judging. If you're judging something good or bad, you're down in black and white thinking. If you're able to say, okay, I'm gonna suspend judgment here, and I'm gonna look for another angle, what's possible here, rather than where's the gray?
Mhm.
Where's the gray in here? And what is that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, keep being curious, pretty much. That's the
Exactly.
message. Be
Exactly.
curious. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Stacy, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
again.
much. I appreciate you all very much.
Thank you, and send me the recording, and
I will
edit
do
and
that
post it.
for sure. All right.
Thank you. Bye, Rachel. Let's dance. Bye, Rowan.
Bye-bye.